You've got good, good energy knocking at your door. You've got good, good energy. We can make it more. We can make it more. We can make it more. Good energy.
I love going up there to see kids who are out of the hospital that I've known in the hospital doing amazing, amazing things. This kid up here with me on the higher ups course, his name is Chris. Chris is cancer-free today. He spent about 8 months straight in sick kids. He did Ooch programs every single day, and he was a huge part of our program for the last 8 months. So we were up there, we were partnered on the higher ups course, and he turned to me and he said, "Nora, this is so different than hanging out in the playroom, eh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it really is. We're really high up." And he said, "You know what, but it's not any more fun or any less fun." And I think that's the whole point, is that regardless of where we are, it's consistent and they're the same values and there's the same kind of relationship building that happens throughout the hospital and Epic Camp. So you might be wondering sort of what we do all day long. And there's a couple of pictures up here. We do special events. We do theme days. These pictures are taken in a boardroom on the 8th floor. So we do special events, we do theme days, we do a group program in the outpatient clinic every morning, we do a group program in the inpatient every afternoon, and we have 2 or 3 people doing bedside visits all day long to different kids. We do games, we do crafts, we have outside visitors come in, we do specialized art projects. Something neat that you're going to see a little bit later is we've started doing music videos and magic shows with kids. And they've had a chance to perform in front of a group, which is something they don't really have an opportunity to do at the hospital because they're not in school and they're not gaining those skills. So we have like magic shows in the playroom, and to bring all the doctors and nurses in and whoever's around, and for a kid to just stand up and do a magic trick, it's pretty neat. Again, it seems like a small thing. Extraordinary times. It's really powerful. Another really neat thing that we've been doing is we put out a bi-weekly gazette. So it's a newspaper on the floor. Again, it seems like really not a big deal. It's a Microsoft Publisher. Like it's not a crazy document. But these kids get such a kick out of it. It's put out every 2 weeks, and when they get something in the gazette, they can't believe it. Everybody gets in, and their parents will ask for like 10 copies to send to relatives all over the world. But they're not bringing book reports home, they're not bringing paintings home, they're getting published in the Gazette, and they think it's pretty cool. And it's a sense of accomplishment at a time where you don't really think that you're accomplishing much. It's not a great time in your life, but again, they're able to have this sense of accomplishment with the Gazette. And skill building. So these kids are having fun, but they're building skills and they're learning something new, which I think is really important. Okay, so the impact of camp in the hospital on parents. Again, pretty obvious things. It provides respite. These kids spend an unnatural amount of time with their parents. If I spent that much time with my mom, I would go nuts. So they're providing respite for the parents. You're also, parents, when they're with us, they can have a shower, they can make a phone call, they can grab a coffee, whatever. The big thing for me is that it's really allowing parents to see their kids, not as patients. So parents are coming in and they're seeing that their kids are having fun, which is it's huge, it's enormous. They haven't seen their kids have fun in so long. It's really, really neat to see them enjoying their kids as kids. Sick Kids has a memorial service every year for all the hematology-oncology patients who have died. And this past year at the service, they have a table, and it has different pictures or crafts or little things about each patient who has died. And one mother pulled me over. Her daughter's name was Amanda, and she had passed away this year. And she said, "Nora, you gotta come see what I brought. You gotta come see what I brought." And she had brought like a duct tape wallet, an octopus made out of beads, a couple copies of the Gazette that Amanda was in. And she said, "You know, I didn't want to bring pictures of her at the end. I didn't want to bring other things. I wanted to bring things that represented Amanda when she was at her happiest." And that's when she was doing Ooch programs in the hospital. So she brought these things that to the outside world might have seemed a little bit insignificant, like a duct tape wallet. Really? It's a memorial service. But it was a really big deal to that mom because it represented when Amanda was so happy. Another story, about 2 months ago, I went to a funeral of a little girl who, or a visitation rather, who had been in the program for a really long time and who had passed away. And hanging above her casket was a t-shirt, and it said, "My favorite things." And it said, like, the color pink, butterflies, Andy, her teddy bear, a few other things. And her mom ran up to me and pulled me over there to show me. It's a t-shirt that she made with us. And she said, you know, this was my guide on what I was going to dress her in when we were going to bury my daughter. So you guys made this shirt with her, and this was our guide. This is what we used for it. So the impact on parents is huge, and I really want to acknowledge that you are all making this impact on parents. You're making their lives so much easier when they have children in the hospital. We think so much about the kids and the awful stuff they're going through. They're going through so much awful stuff, but you're also really impacting the parents at probably the worst time in their lives. St. Kitts is an amazing place, and we work on a multidisciplinary team. And for those of you who don't know what a multidisciplinary team is it's social workers, doctors, nurses, dietitians, physiotherapists, school teachers, like you name it, there's one on the team, and us. So we receive multiple referrals every day from members of that team to go and visit new kids or kids who are having an especially rough time. We work closely with the Child Life and the Social Work Department in that regard, and I would argue that we really add to the quality of life on the floor and change the vibe in clinic, and that the staff also, they really appreciate it, and they really participate in all of our events as well. They're dressed up and they're excited. Something neat that happened to me about a month ago was I went into a patient's room who was newly diagnosed, and we were hanging out, we were making a scrapbook, and then this doctor poked his head in the door, knocked on the door, poked his head in, and was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'll come back, this is more important." Which was like pretty neat, considering his job and my job. So that sort of represents the respect that they have for what we're doing at St. Kitts. I'm going to read you a letter. This is from one of the nurse practitioners on the floor. Many children and parents have commented to me about the amazing contribution Ooch has made to life on the floor. I've seen a taste of Ooch at the hospital with the programs they have developed. Earlier this year, a new parent asked me what activities were planned to entertain his son through the weekend. I became a little indignant and in my mind could not imagine why this father would bring up such trivial things when I wanted to talk about important things like chemo and side effects and such. Of course, now I realize he was right on the mark, and that the work of the hospital community doesn't end when the staff goes home. The work of Ooch now goes on in the hospital in the evenings and the weekends. What a benefit this is making to the patients and families at St. Kitts. So, I think that the point of her letter is that, exactly what she said, we're there when not everyone is there. We have this massive party on Canada Day. Canada Day is a stat holiday. So to be able to do that and provide those programs at other times when other people aren't there, it's so rewarding, it's so phenomenal. So we're thinking, great, you get to play with kids all day, neat, you have a really fun job. But what's the difference? So we started sort of keeping track a while ago about our statistics and how many kids we're seeing. And it was really hard to come up with a tracking system to measure what we're doing. And so we've decided that a 20-minute participation in an Ooch program counts as one experience. And for our winter quarter this year, because we're not done this summer, we had 341 individual kids participate. And then the total number of experiences in the winter quarter was 1,302. So, and then the average number of experiences per camper is 3.82. Again, it's really funny because there's some kids that I see every single day for 6 or 7 months, and then there's kids that'll just come in for a checkup, and so I'll see them once a year. So it's a really hard thing to measure, but that's what we've come up with. And this is just a graph just to illustrate the growth that's happened because of you. So in 2009, the winter quarter, we were a lot lower than we are in 2010, and it is so neat to be able to say to you that there were 1,302 kids, or two times that kids made friends, were distracted, had fun, challenged themselves, learned something new, And again, it's the Ooch program, but it would be nowhere without your support. So it's all of you riding. It's so humbling to be here and to be able to tell you that. So in terms of strategic planning, where are we going from here? Ooch is not a stagnant organization. We're always changing, we're always growing, we're always building on different things. We moved from about 4 days a week to 7 days a week in the hospital. We've started going to different satellite centers. So Sick Kids has these centers in Scarborough, Newmarket, Mississauga. And it's a place where kids can go just to get their blood work done so their families don't have to drive all the way down to downtown. So we've been doing a couple of programs there. And it's really fun because kids cannot believe that you exist outside of Sick Kids. It's like seeing your teacher at the store. Like, it's really neat. They go bananas. They can't believe that we're in both places. Another thing that we've been working on is palliative care programming. So there was a mom that approached us 2 years ago now, and she said, listen, I know my son's going to die. We're with the palliative care team. We want his counselors to come and hang out with him. We want to do an Ooch program. We want to do something in his hospital room. And we said, no, it's not something we do. It's boundaries and this and that. And then we started talking with the palliative care team at Sick Kids, and they were pushing in and saying, you know what, we can do this. We'll work with you. And so now we're working with the palliative care team, and we're putting on these palliative care programs for these kids, which is a really amazing thing at the end of their lives. So kids who have gone to Ooch, kids who have not gone to Ooch, they get an amazing afternoon with a whole bunch of amazing volunteers and Ooch staff, and we do some of their favorite things in the hospital. Another really exciting thing coming down the pipes is we have just signed a lease on an in-city space. It's at College in Bathurst, and it is going to have a rock wall. It's going to be a permanent place where kids can come and hang out. So we're going to have a whole bunch of stuff there. There's a teaching kitchen. It's really, really cool. And it'll be open for kids later on this fall, I believe.
Nora mentioned that we are opening a camp in the city, so I want to give you a little more information about what we're doing. We're reaching every child diagnosed with cancer at the hospital, but what we've learned is that only 20% of those kids are actually getting up to camp for a residential experience. So what we've learned along the way is that some kids are just too young, some kids are too sick, some kids' parents just aren't comfortable sending them away, and there's also a cultural piece. So some kids' families are just not familiar with camp the way that we know it. So as a result, we're opening a camp in the city. So we're so excited that we just secured a lease on a building, as Nora mentioned, at College in Bathurst. And this will be the permanent home for Ooch in Toronto. So our goal is to do regular scheduled programming in the facility. We're going to get kids of all ages there, all ability levels. It's a completely accessible building. It's going to have a rock wall, a teaching kitchen, a whole rec space where we can do programming all year long, all for kids who aren't yet coming to camp and for kids who are already coming to camp. Our goal is to eventually get them up there, but this is step one, and it's our way to reach them in the city. So we're going to show you one video, actually it's two videos. This is the video that we debuted at our gala this year, and this gives you the whole story behind Ooch in the city. So enjoy.
You've got good, good energy knocking at your door. You've got good, good energy. We can make it more.